Hello everyone. So I am going to be working with the February cherry box today. You still have time to subscribe to this cherry box until January 25th, and then you'll receive this kit. So I wanted to play with this chipboard. If you saw my unboxing, you saw that the chipboard is chipboard, but it's not cardboard. So it's on the thin side, but I had a really great idea for how to use it in two different ways. So I have two pieces of that chipboard right here, and I am going to heat emboss it. In fact, we're going to heat emboss a couple different things, and we're actually going to use those embossed pieces on a couple different layouts. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to heat emboss this chipboard. I'm going to use my favorite embossing ink, which is Brutus Monroe embossing ink, and I am also going to be using the Brutus Monroe bubbly embossing powder. Now I'm not sure if this embossing powder is still available over at A Cherry on Top. I did get it from A Cherry on Top, and if it's still available, then I am sure it will be linked up in the description box below, as will the embossing ink. So I'm going to coat the chipboard with the embossing ink, and then I'm gonna coat it with the powder, tap off the excess, and I am going to put 3 layers of embossing powder on each of these chipboard pieces. So you can see here how it melts. This embossing color, bubbly, it's like this gorgeous iridescent vanilla color. I absolutely love it. It's brand new. I had just gotten it in my newest design team order, and I was super excited to work with it. And these chipboard pieces were the perfect use. So I am going to put 3 layers of embossing powder on this chipboard, and that's going to give this chipboard this really smooth, almost enamel-like look. A lovely close-up of that finished piece now. It is so gorgeous. I love this color. So here is that embossed. You can kind of see it there. I wasn't sure, so the video isn't really catching the iridescent part of it, but it's pretty amazing. So I did both of those pieces from the chipboard. There is the other one. Oh, there you can see like the little bit of the iridescent, and there's the other one. So those each have 3 layers of the embossing powder on them. And now I'm going to play a little bit with this stamp. So this is the Prima stamp that came in the cherry box. I pulled some pink cardstock from my stash, and I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. I'm going to heat emboss the stamp. So if you get this cherry box, here's a couple of tips. First of all, I think that this turns out very this is a very detailed stamp. So when I heat emboss it, it turns kind of artsy. It looks almost like a medallion. I did use these 3 pieces that I embossed, but the stamps were not as detailed when I just used a stamp. So when I just used like black ink to stamp the stamp was very detailed. This is putting the embossing powder on it is giving it a much more kind of abstract look to it. And so I'm going to end up using the 3 circles that I emboss on a scrapbook layout, and the process video for that scrapbook layout is scheduled to go up the 24th. So right before the cutoff date to get your cherry box. That is when the layout will go up on my channel. Actually, no, that's not right. It's going to go up Monday the 22nd. So this one's going up Sunday. The second layout with the heritage photo goes up tomorrow. So I wanted to use this larger chipboard piece and the ephemera that came in the kit to decorate the front of my Ancestry album a little bit, and then I'm also going to do 2 pages inside my Ancestry album. So this ephemera pack had a whole bunch of really nice large ephemera pieces in it. You can see here, like there's some smaller ones, but there's a lot of like pretty big die cuts in here. So I thought that it would be good to take advantage of those large die cuts and use one of them on the front of my album. So I'm going to keep this really, really simple. I'm going to go through the ephemera. I'm going to choose a couple of pieces, kind of layer them up, and it's just going to provide a little bit of decor on the front of my album. This 49th and Market Foundations album that I'm using for my Ancestry project, the front of it, the way it's designed, it really is designed for you to be able to put more decor on it. Like there's a whole like section there it's like squared off, and it's very obvious that you should put something right there. And I've kind of been waiting to see what I decide I want to put on the front of the album, and this was the perfect opportunity. These were the perfect products, and I love how this turned out. So I have a couple of die cuts, and then I'm going to also go ahead and grab the rub-ons here. And I'm going to put a rub-on on that one kind of larger ephemera piece. And then we can go ahead and use that on the front of our album cover. So after making, let's see, if we count the album cover, I have made, and if we count the Ancestry pages individually, I have made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 projects with this cherry box. And I have used a bunch of these rub-ons. They are really, really nice. Now, they do take a little more pressure than the 49th and Market ones. And I also think that they might be those kind that might dry out a little bit quicker than the 49th and Market ones. They just don't seem to be as sticky, and you have to use some good pressure to get them off. But I think as long as you would use them right away, like I'm definitely going to use all the rub-ons I want off this sheet fairly quickly, then I think that they'll be okay. I am going to adhere the front of this to my album with 2 adhesives. So I'm going to go ahead and use my Kikoya tape runner, and then I'm also going to use my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive, and I'm going to make sure that this is not going to go anywhere, that this is going to stay and not go anywhere. I'm just pulling the page out that we're going to work on in my Ancestry project album, and we'll talk about that photo when we get to that part. So I'm going to adhere down the ephemera piece, and like I said, I am using like extra adhesive to make sure that this isn't that these things on the front of the album aren't going to go anywhere. This Simple Stories Love Story collection may become one of my top 5 favorite lines from 2024. So not only did I get some in the cherry box, I also had placed an order at a cherry on top, and I had gotten some of it just from the shop in an order as well. So I have lots of this, and I've decided that I'm going to not just use it for these projects here. I'm also going to use it to document some of my vacation photos because I've found that my vacation photos from Monticello, the colors and the vibe of this collection look really nice with my photos. So you'll be seeing lots and lots of this collection over the next couple of months. So there is the finished album, and now let's get to work on these pages in my Ancestry project. Make some decisions on which of these papers I am going to cut down. So I'm going to be doing 2 6x8 pages today. These are full pages. They are not pocket pages. So I have to start by cutting down 2 of these patterns for backgrounds. And that was a bit of a hard decision, but I decided on this one, which is all kinds of older texts, prints, and almost like newspapers or little cards and different things. And so I'm going to use that as one of the backgrounds. And then I'm also going to use this floral as one of my backgrounds. I chose kind of busier background papers because these pages are small, and I know that only a little bit of this background is going to show once I start putting my photograph, my journaling, all of those kinds of things on these pages. Very little of these backgrounds are going to show. So I chose two that maybe were a little busier, but in the end, when the layout is finished, that kind of initial busyness is muted quite a bit. I am going to make my own letters now. So I got these Lawn Fawn Oliver's Stitched ABCs from the shop in my last order, and I love them. They are so nice. They're such just a nice font, and they have the little stitching detail, and they're so cute. I did these projects more than a week ago, so I've made a lot of projects since I made these, and I've used these letter dies a couple times since then. So you're going to be seeing them a lot. They're probably going to be in heavy rotation. So I'm just going to clip them apart here, and I'm going to make my own thickers. Cut the word family from white cardstock and then pattern paper. So I die cut them 4 times, 3 times from white cardstock and then once from pattern paper. I'm using my crystal katana and an older silhouette mat that I've cut in half to kind of hold my letters in place while I stack them up, and I'm going to put the pattern paper letters on the top. And then I took the time to go ahead and ink up all the edges with Vintage Photo Distress Oxide ink, and that will allow the sides of the letters to just kind of disappear into the rest of the layout, and it's not like this stark white, because Simple Stories pattern papers, none of them are a true white. They're like that off-white, just adjacent to white color. So let's talk about this photo and the 2 pages we're going to work on in my Ancestry project today. So I am putting my family tree together using Ancestry.com. I know that there probably are maybe better ways to do it. That one just seems to be the most intuitive, and it seems to be working for me. When it comes to my family history, I do have enough of an idea of names of great-grandparents and great-great-grandparents and all of that, especially my maternal side or my maternal line, that I feel like I'm not getting wrong information or wrong hints. Like everything seems to be so far matching up with kind of what I knew or what I know already. So one of the things that Ancestry.com does, which I think is kind of cool, is when you log in or when you first start a project, they put these little collages together, right? And so this is one of the collages that they put together. And it's a photo of me and then 3 of my ancestors. One of the people in the photo is my grandfather, and he passed away long before I was born. He passed away when my dad was 16. So these are family members from his side of the family. And when I went into my Ancestry.com account the one day, they had this collage, and they asked a question, and they were like, do you see a family resemblance between these 4 photos? And I was like, maybe, but I just thought it was cool. I thought it was an interesting thing for them to do, to put all 4 of those photos together. What I did notice is that, so I have always looked more like my dad's side of the family than my mom's side of the family. And I feel like the one thing you can definitely see in this photo is that I have my grandfather's nose. And then as you go through and look at the other pictures of the other people in the photos, we all have the same nose. And I do think there is a family resemblance. Now, I showed this to my husband, and he's like, no, you don't like any of those people. You don't look like any of those people. But I think maybe there is. I can see a little bit of a family resemblance. So I printed out that collage. And since that's the whole point of this album, right? The whole point of this album is to document my journey and document the things that I find as I work through putting my family tree together. And so this was definitely like a story that would go with the theme of this little album. And I decided I really wanted to go ahead and document that. So this first page with the collage, again, I matted the photo, layered up some papers, and I'm going to go through the die cuts and see, set aside a few to use for this layout. I'm going to go ahead and use these little ephemera pieces. I'm inking everything up with Vintage Photo Distress Oxide ink. And then below the photo, I want to put my title. And my title is going to be Family Resemblance ? So I already did the family, right? That was the word that I built with my die cut letters. And so I'm going to get them down first. And then I am using these puffy stickers from Pink First Studio. These are the ones from the Chrysanthemum collection. But they were the only ones I had that were small enough that I could spell out resemblance. And it didn't take up the entire page and have the letters like flying off the edge. So I was kind of limited a little bit in my choices. I do think that the green is a perfect match, and I was so happy the green was a perfect match because this worked out really nicely. And in the video, it kind of looks like the word resemblance fades into the background. It doesn't. In real life, you can read it, and it's perfectly fine. And then across the bottom, I wanted to add a little bit more of that darker floral pattern. So I went ahead and grabbed the sticker from the sticker sheet and placed it across the bottom. And that's going to finish up our first page. So the first page is just the photo. And then the back page is going to have all of my journaling. So I started with this mustard color paper. This might be my favorite paper in this whole collection. It's such a good neutral. I love it. I really like those cameras too. I don't know what I'm going to do with those cameras yet. I might end up fussy cutting them, some of them. But I'm going to start with that little strip down the right side, and I tore the edge and inked it up, and it's going to give me a little bit of an anchoring spot. And then I'm just going to go ahead, and I have chosen a couple of the cut apart pieces from another of the pattern papers, and I'm going to layer them up and use them. So I used this one that said Our Story, and it has the lovely like notebook print on it. So I'm going to use that one to do all of my journaling, and journaling will be just what I basically talked about. The only kind of difference will be is that I'm going to put on there who each of the people is in that collage and how they're related to me. So not just my grandfather, but the two women at the top as well. And then I have this pretty tag, and the tag has lines on it too. So if I write on the journaling piece and I need more room to write, the tag has some lines on it too. And I kept that tag like that on purpose. So if I don't use that little bit of extra journaling, I can always put a sticker or just leave it exactly the way it is. This bottom piece is another cut apart piece. It says This Moment right here, and I thought there was some open space there that I thought would be really pretty to use one of the larger floral rub-ons from the rub-on collection. And so I kind of put that one in there and made that kind of like my little cluster. So I kept this page really simple. And that is where this part of my Ancestry journal is finished. So these two pages are going to go in my journal. We worked on the cover a little bit. I just need to add my journaling there, and these pages are done. In addition to a link to sign up for a subscription to the Cherry Box, if you would like one, you will also find links to the other products that I use, anything that is available over at A Cherry on Top will be linked down below. Have a wonderful day, everybody, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.